This reading is for Marie, and she just wanted to know what was happening on the work front. So in this particular circumstances, I'll be using the Rider-Waite Tarot deck. And I actually did two separate readings for this one. So for the first one here, I used the Mystic 7 spread. So it's a 7-card layout. The first one here represents your current situation. The second one on top is your obstacles. Then we're going to go to the top one here, and this is your aspiration. On the bottom is what needs to be awakened, what lies behind you, the next stage, and what will be. So before we get started with this reading, I'll just do a quick prayer. I ask upon my angels and my guides to please be in communication with Marie's angels and guide. May you please provide a clear and accurate reading. I also call upon Archangel Michael to please surround us in white light so that only divine messages may come through. Okay, so for your first card, that's the one that's you in your current situation. You've got the Queen of Wands. So a lot of times when we see the royals, the page, the knight, the queen and the king represents a person. Now in this case, because this is a card representing you, the queen represents you. The queen tends to represent somebody who's, more mature. And then the wand here represents action. So it talks about, having a lot of vibrancy, being exuberant, somebody with, with a lot of action. So this kind of telling me you're someone who's likes to get, have lots on the go. You have a lot of projects on the go. You're just a person of action. So the second card that we have, and that's the one on the top, and this is the one that talks about your obstacles. And for that one, we got the Ace of Pentacles. So the ace normally talks about starting something new, like a new beginning or a beginning of some sort. And the pentacles reflect to the resources. Now the resources could be money, it could be your time, that sort of stuff. So what's coming up here, because this is in the obstacle position, it's telling me you're having trouble getting started in because of the nature of the question here, in finding a job. You're having trouble getting started into working towards that. The third card here, and that's going to be the one on the top, and that's your aspiration. And then for this one here, we've got the Page of Sword. So the Page of Sword talks about being energetic. As I mentioned, there's the page, there's the knight, the queen, and the king. The queen represents maturity. The knight would be kind of more like an adolescent type feeling. The page is more like a childish, like a childish like view. It says like you put a certain level of excitement about the way you approach what you do, kind of like a child would. You're just a person who gets excited about what you're working on, what you're doing, projects, that sort of stuff. That's kind of what inspires you, right? Like you like to be excited about stuff. Now on the very bottom here, and then this card is what needs to be awakened. And for this one here, you got the Knight of Pentacles reverse. So then again, the pentacles reflecting to the resources. And then the knight, so the knight normally can represent emotion. The pentacles are resources. So it's kind of telling me, because this is in a reverse position, is you're not putting things in motion enough towards your resources. You got to use your time a little bit more efficiently. You got to be a bit more routine oriented towards your goals on the work front, right? Now, so the next card here, we're going to go with the first card, and this one here talks about your what lies behind you. And for this one here is you got the Temperance in reverse. So this talks about an imbalance, excess, and lack of long-term vision. So now, temperance normally we kind of talk about lacking of something, but this talks about too much of something. Because it's in the reverse position here, but it's too much of something and it's caused an imbalance. So I think is with what happened with your workforce in the past, because you had so much resources supporting you in that time frame, that it caused an imbalance where you've lost the momentum. You kind of became a little bit more too comfortable in the situation that you were in, so that you lost the motivation a little bit. So the next card that we have here, and this is the next stage. And for this one here is you got the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups talks about the cups is again an emotion, and the page talks about maybe a childish-like approach. So to me, it's kind of the way you're dealing with your emotions, or just the emotions that you're having right now might not be properly constructed, I guess. Like you may want to reevaluate the way you're viewing things emotionally at this time. And then for the last card that we have, and this is what will be, you've got the Nine of Sword. So the Nine of Sword talks about anxiety. You're going to be worried about stuff. So now it's because of this reading that I decided to do a different reading as well. So I wanted to do another reading that would show a little bit more information onto the different possibilities. So the next reading that I did is, oh sorry, I didn't write the spread down. What is it? It is the past, present, future spread with options. Okay, so this is a 9-card spread, so it's a big spread. And when I did this reading, there's actually a jumper as well. So I'll get into this reading here. Now, this one here, we got the past, the present, and then the future. Okay, but then we also have another possible future if you follow these advice. And then we have option B, future, if you follow these advice. So now let's have a look at what this one is going to look like. So we're going to start with the past card. And for this one here is you got the Nine of Cups. So the Nine of Cups talks about being comfortable, being satisfied. Now cups is an emotion, so basically this is kind of saying that, in the past things were good. You were pretty happy, things were kind of steady, and it was good, right? Like you were content and satisfied in your situation. Now in the present situation, you've got the Three of Wand. Now the wand talks about action, and the Three of Wand talks about preparation. So this card is saying it's time right now that you concentrate on the preparation, preparing yourself for your next step. So it's kind of time where you need to make sure that your action goes towards what you're trying to accomplish. Make sure that you concentrate on your goals. If you do that, we will go into the future, and then for this one now you have the King of Pentacles. So we talked about the different royals, Page being kind of childish, Knight being kind of like adolescent-like, the Queen is mature, while the King is kind of wise. So this kind of like the King is wise, and the Pentacles again talks about resources. So this is saying if you kind of follow this path and you take the proper preparation now, you will so things will be under control. Like things are going to be on the resource side, things will be good. It'll be under control. You're going to be content. It's just a good path to be on. So to look at the other options, so the first future option A, so this is another potential future for you, and then we have the Knight of Pentacles. Now I think that's very interesting that the Knight of Pentacles comes up, because if you remember, this was in your last reading as well. So this is kind of telling me this path would be a little bit more on the term of what was happening in your last reading that we just did. So again, the Knight of Pentacles talks about, lack of efficiency on the resources side. So where this is another potential future where resources just aren't going to be what you really need them to be. So in this case, the next two cards that were technically the advice aren't going to be considered advice so much in this case. It's going to be more cautions. So your first caution, if you want to avoid this future, is the Lovers reversed. So what that's telling me, the Lovers reversed talks about disharmony in your relationship, a misalignment of values. Like you guys are no longer working towards the same goal. So you got to make sure that you're kind of both contributing and supporting each other. And if you kind of lose sight of that, that's where this may come to be, right? The second cautionary card that we have here is the Three of Cups. Now, the Three of Cups talks about friendship and community, having a good time. So this is telling me that if instead of concentrating on your preparation, taking the action to get you towards your goal, you're kind of indulging more in just having fun, you got a lack of balance there, and you're not heading towards the right path if you concentrate on just having fun and you don't do the necessary steps into making sure you prepare for your next job. Now we've got another potential future here that we're looking at as well. So this would be potential future B, and for this one here you have the Moon reversed. So this is kind of talking about unhappiness and confusion. So again, this one here is kind of a future that you probably want to try to avoid. So then instead, the next two cards, instead of being advice, they're going to be more cautions. So the first cautionary card that you have for this potential future is we have the Star reverse. So the Star reverse talks about discouragement and lack of faith. So saying don't get discouraged in your kind of search for work. Make sure that you keep believing that, like don't let yourself kind of get down over it, because it can lead you towards getting upset and having an unhappy outcome, right? Now the second cautionary card that we have here is the Four of Cups. So the Four of Cups talks about emotions, and this one here kind of talks about contemplation and apathy. Now apathy means a lack of enthusiasm. So it's kind of saying don't lose the momentum, don't lose your excitement over your job search and that sort of stuff, because you will lose the momentum. And the Four of Cups also talks about missing opportunities. If you see in the picture, the guy's sitting and he's looking at the Three Cups, but he doesn't even see that fourth cup that's floating right next to him. So you don't want to lose your enthusiasm so much that you miss out on some options. So kind of in this path, it's just saying definitely don't get discouraged, don't lose your enthusiasm, just really do the proper steps today to make sure that you're concentrating and doing your preparation that you know you should be doing towards getting your job, and then that brings you the perfect future that you want. Make sure you don't get discouraged, but also make sure that you don't overindulge in just the fun stuff and neglect your preparation here. Now you did have a jumper card, and that tends to be kind of like an extra message that the angels are sending you or your guides are sending you. And for the jumper card, we got the Four of Sword. So the Four of Sword kind of talks about recuperating, being passive, resting. So what this card is kind of telling me is, it's good. You've rested in between your since your last job now. You've done that. You're good to go. You're good to kind of get started. It's just kind of acknowledging the situation and kind of saying that's good. That's good now. Like that's done. So that you should kind of get going towards the preparation for your next job. Well, Marie, this is your reading, and I hope that it kind of shed some light onto your situation and that it answered your question.